Everybody that's done something great in this world sacrificed something.
You could be successful in business, but are you successful in life?
Welcome back, Chrissy.
Hey, how are you doing today?
So far, so good. I'm excited to have you here today. We are here to discuss the seventh and final habit of this amazing book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Excited to talk about the seventh habit of sharpening the saw. So my question for you is, what does it mean to you when Stephen Covey is talking about sharpening the saw?
To sharpen the saw, I think for me is just the process of growth. It's how we grow. It's how we continue to grow. So it's the commitment to continually grow in the 4 different areas of our life: the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, and the social. Um,
But one of the things what comes to my mind a lot when I think about sharpening the saw is balance and not neglecting one thing for another. So he talks about a great story in the book where he says that their lumberjacks are cutting the trees in the forest, and everybody's going to town and they're just starting to cut trees, and a guy gets on top of the ladder and he yells at them, "Hey, you guys are cutting down the wrong forest." And he said, the guy's cutting them down says, "Shut up, we're making progress."
yeah.
And it's a great story because how many times have we ever been in a situation where we're doing a certain task and we're doing a great job of it, but we're doing it all wrong? Whether it's, I have had situations where we'll be disorganized within our company, and the crews will show up to the wrong house, and they all of a sudden start working, and it hasn't happened a lot, but it has happened. And they're all there, working, going ahead, and they find out, they realize that that isn't the right project to even be working on, right? That's a little embarrassing, but it's a perfect example of so many times throughout our lives where we're neglecting one thing for another. So if we're neglecting, logistics of being able to give somebody the right information to where they need to be at, um, we're gonna get those bad results.
Yeah. So I think, for example, in habit 2, we talked about beginning with the end in mind. So if you begin with the end in mind, one of the benefits of that is making sure that you don't neglect, right? So standing back and seeing, what do you want to be remembered for? What difference do you want to make? How do you want to contribute? What do you want to be able to accomplish in your life? And then really, when we do that effectively, we're going to look at those different areas of our life. So physically, how healthy do I want to be? And in order to be healthy physically, what do I need to do? I need to work out. I need to eat healthy. I need to manage my stress, right? I need to be financially successful in order to provide the physical needs. And then we have, say the mental area. The mental is more like our knowledge, gaining knowledge and learning, visualizing, developing different skills. That has to do with planning, right? So if we begin with the end in mind, we're looking at these different areas of our life. We're looking at our emotional life, our social life. Like, what difference do we want to make in the lives of others? What kind of a relationship do we want to have with our children and in our spouse, in our boss? And then we're also looking at the spiritual life, right? The spiritual life, that's, what are my most important values? What are the principles that I want to live my life by? And when we can look at all 4 of those areas of our life and say, in order to be successful, in order to be a truly effective person, I have to maintain the balance between those and work with all of those, right? So you could say, if I'm doing really well in my emotional life, I have great relationships with my children, with my spouse. I'm working, I'm working on my mental life. I'm reading, I'm learning, I'm growing. Spiritually, like, I'm living in alignment with my values, but yet I neglect my physical life, right? I'm not working out,
Yeah.
right? I'm not eating healthy. I'm eating at McDonald's. I'm not eating whole foods. I'm eating processed foods and junk. And that is going to affect every other area of my life. So my ability to learn, my ability to have good relationships, my ability to live out my values, to make the difference that I want to make, is going to be affected by if I neglect my physical life. So every area that we neglect affects all of the rest. And a lot of times we think, like, I don't have time to work out. right? Because we're busy learning or we're busy building relationships. Well, what happens if you don't work out? The rest of your life suffers. And I just think a lot of times we think we can get away with not working out or we think we can get away with not learning, right? Most people don't read. So if you're not reading and you think you can go through life and not read, we're being fooled because ultimately we reap what we sow. So I just think he makes a great point of not neglecting the four different areas of our life and continuing to grow in those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Just everything that you said was made a lot of sense. It's just trying to keep a balance between them all. And you're talking about kind of like a well-oiled machine. Most of the times people say, hey, it's running like a well-oiled machine.
Mhm.
And really in your life, anytime you're trying to accomplish something, it's very important people understand this. Anytime you're trying to do something great, whether it's build a great business or build, even with your family or within yourself, building yourself up physically, and mentally, you're always going to have to neglect one part of yourself to for another. One part of your will, whether it's your finances, whether it's your family, whether it's your business, whether it's your health, in order for another one to excel. The important part is in this journey is that you understand that you're aware of it. And you know, all right, I'm neglecting my physical right now because I have to spend a little more time in work because I'm trying to build my business. Or I'm neglecting my business a little bit because I need to make sure that my family is doing well, or so and so. You're always going to have this imbalance no matter what. And eventually in time, once it all comes together, you can start trying to build. You get a little older and things all kind of play out. Your business starts doing well, your family start doing well. All of a sudden now you can spend time with your health and you can start being a little bit more balanced.
Yeah.
But the important part is that you understand is that throughout your young adulthood, you're going to go through these phases where you're neglecting one. There's no way for you not to in order to get
But
ahead.
I think even at that, you still have the whole picture in mind, right? So say, for example, you might tell your family, for the next 6 months, we're really gonna focus on our business because for you guys, we wanna build a business and that will set us up. But if that goes on too long,
Yes.
right? Now you're not living, in alignment with what is important. So, Stephen Covey always says, he says that success in one area of life can't compensate for failure in another area of life, right? So you could have a successful business, but if you have a family that is fallen apart, if you have children that are falling apart, if you have a marriage that is falling apart, are you successful? So I think, being off balance can work for short amounts of time, but if it continues, ultimately things start to break down, right? So if your children feel like your business is more important than them, that's not going to work for
Yeah,
too long.
and it's
Now,
just
for a while, you have to make sacrifices.
absolutely, and it's the same thing within a motor, right? You're having an engine, let's just say a lawnmower. He compares it a lot to a lawnmower. I think he uses one of the examples is you need to get the oil change, right? There's only so long you can go without changing the oil before the motor's gonna burst, and it's exactly what you're talking about. There's only gonna be so long that you're gonna be able to neglect your health
Yep.
or your family or your business or whatever area
Before
before
there's major
before it just
consequences.
it gives out on you. So the important part about it is to create the awareness of it and understanding within yourself. And I like what you just said of talking to your family, hey, we're gonna have to make sacrifices because in order to get ahead in life, you have to make sacrifices. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
Everybody that's done something great in this world sacrificed something in order to get there.
Yeah.
And the awareness is key to make sure that you tell yourself, all right, I'm going to have to neglect this for a short while,
Yeah.
just enough time to get myself to get this other part of my life ahead. And then the oil change, right? You're supposed to change your oil every 5,000 miles, said 10,000 nowadays. Hey, you can neglect it for a little while. All right, I'm gonna go 15,000 miles without changing it. But then after that, you say, all right, that's enough. We got to stop now. We got to go get that oil change. You got to make sure that it's running well, because otherwise, you're jeopardizing now losing it, losing that
Yeah,
engine.
because I think there's so many people, for example, that they're successful financially, and to the world, that might seem like success, but then you look at their children,
Yeah,
and are they successful?
yeah,
It's like, so I think it comes from being really clear of how do we define success? How do we define effectiveness? Because there's different measures of success, right? You could be successful in business, but are you successful in life? And I just think ultimately, in order to keep that balance, that's what we have to come back to is what is most important to us. What are our highest values? What principles should we live our life by? So, one of the things that he said in this chapter that I thought was really good, he said that this habit of renewal is really based on conscience, right? So the our conscience keeps this habit um I guess it keeps us aware of this habit. So, for example, it's our conscience that says, "Hey, you know what? You need to work out." Right? "Hey, you're not eating healthy. You're not spending enough time with your kids." Or, "Hey, you're not putting enough hours in your business." So he talks about in order to live this habit, you have to be very aware of that still small voice inside that's trying to guide you, right? Like, where are you falling short? How are you doing? And really, um, to stay aware of how are we doing? What is our conscience telling us? Are we at peace with where we're at? Um, not what the world thinks, not what we seem to be, but internally, are we at peace? Are we doing what is right? Are we living true to our values? Are we living true to what is good? Are we living true to correct principles?
Yeah, absolutely. Just being able to make sure that you're not overdoing it at the end of the day. You're trying to find balance in all things, and that's key. That's key to this role. So I love this. I love this topic. I love the whole idea of sharpening the saw. It's something that I struggled with as a young person growing up because I would neglect some things. Right. Sometimes I felt some things were more important than others, and it's kind of like you were saying. What is your definition of success? What is it? Because obviously having a great family, having a great relationship with your wife, that's important. But if you're broke,
Yeah.
you're broke, you have no money, and you're struggling to pay bills, that's only gonna last so long, right?
But see, even that, they kind of all intertwine because your ability to provide for your family
Mhm.
is going to determine to a large degree the success of your family. Like what kind of education do they get? Where do they go to school? Um, all of those different things. What kind of food are they able to eat? So it also affects your family as well. So that's part of loving your family is providing for your family. But I think a lot of it comes down to our motives. Like why do you work? Why do you even work out? A lot of people work out they might not be motivated to work out, but they want to be healthy to spend time with their children. They want to live into an old age. They can, be a grandfather. So I think our motives come into play as well.
Yeah, and it's very well said, very well said. Sharpening the saw, so making sure you're staying within balance in your life, you're not neglecting one thing for another. Understanding the importance of that and the value that's gonna bring to your life, making sure that if you are doing it, that you're aware of it, and that you understand that there's only so long you can do that for.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna pay the consequences for it.
Yeah.
And some people, most of the times, it's a little too late, right? Like,
You can't go
you
back.
try to take that car to the mechanic, and they're like, "Hey, sorry, bud, that thing's gone."
Yeah. And
And
I think life goes by a lot faster than we think, right? If you think about children, you think have your children for a long time, and before you know it, they're gone, right? So there's such a short period of time, say, to raise a child. And if you neglect that, like you say, you can't go back.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
over.
certain things have to be done when they have to be done. And if you neglect them, you lost an opportunity.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of people realize this a little too late, and by that time, the damage is done.
Yeah.
And
So really, this kind of goes back to living all of the habits, right? Um, Taking responsibility, right? Recognizing that you are in charge of your life. That who you are is not determined by your conditions, your circumstances, or your environment, but that you get to choose, right? It starts with beginning with the end in mind. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to contribute? What do you want to be remembered for? Right. And then asking yourself, hey, what do I need to do to make it happen? What do I need to do to live a life that is consistent with my vision? Right. That is consistent with the answers that I got. And then, learning to work with others to make it a win win, learning to understand others. So, as we begin to continually work and commit to living these habits, like we'll continue to grow. Right? So we continue to learn, we continue to commit, and we continue to act on the habits that will ultimately lead to success,
absolutely,
being more effective in our lives.
that's absolutely right. So, want to really thank you for this review on this book. It's been amazing. I want to thank you for all the time, the work you put into the reviews, and
Yeah,
thank you
it's
for
really
being on the
fun.
podcast. So, this is a great book, guys. I really hope that this was been able to been a change in your guys' lives. Hopefully, we've been able to bring some value, and hopefully, you're with us on the next book, and we can get another one go. Uh,
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Appreciate everything.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank
Take
you.
care.